like to call our Thursday, May 3rd, 2018 Forest Lake Area School Board meeting to order. Member Clerk, take a roll call.
Member Corcoran? Here. Member Moorhead? Here. Member Peterson?
Present.
Member Odegaard is absent. Member Tyson? Present. Member Rayfield?
Present.
Member Olson is here.
All right. Let's start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to our school board meeting. If you're new to a meeting and you'd like more information, there's some information over on the table that describes what we're trying to do here. If you would like to speak during our unscheduled visitors portion, which is coming right up, get a green card to me and you can speak for up to 3 minutes. And with that, it doesn't look like we've got any changes to our agenda, so scheduled and unscheduled visitors. Listening session report, member Olson.
We had 4 people come. 3 of those were teachers. 3 people were interested in what they can do for our school district in the legislature and what Dayton is proposing for one-time money. And the other one was a teacher, and she gave us a great presentation on our EL program.
Yep. All right, we've got a couple of green cards here. Shireen Jetson, you want to come up?
Thank you. I'm a parent and a constituent, and I'm passionate about education, and I'm here to talk about my reaction to last month's listening session and meeting. I understand the current situation with district funding is difficult, and the board has a tough job. I vote for candidates that support education, and I monitor legislative changes. I understand the state education cuts and the reality of transportation costs, but the situation is the reality. The board has been elected to lead within this current reality. Leaders are visionary. In 8 Characteristics of Great Leaders, Alex Perot states, leaders must live in the future state and carry the vision, yet engage in purposeful motivation and practical realities of the present. What else do leaders do? Number 1, they influence. Influence comes from listening, not talking, from taking time to earn respect and being gracious and yet persuasive. At last month's listening session, it appeared board attendees were not interested in hearing from constituents that disagreed with them. The report to the full board did not address many concerns that attendees spoke passionately about. Number 2, they communicate. At the listening session, Mr. Peterson's wife explained that the board has done a great job insulating the community from cuts. This is exactly the problem. People need to understand the consequences of past and future cuts. We need to see, touch, and feel the cuts. Number 3, being an effective leader requires accountability. During the discussion of cuts and levies, I felt the board was shaming the members of the audience, voters, and the community. Forest Lake has had 11 levies in a row fail. According to the Minnesota School Board Association, the board accepts ultimate responsibility for the care, management, and control of the district. As leaders, the board needs to take accountability for past levy failures and their role in getting future levies to class. Number 4, leaders are genuine and authentic. They are collaborative. Transparency builds trust. If you are connected and genuinely interested in their participation and welfare, they will join you in your quest. While I understand that making cuts is difficult, the dramatic head bowing at the last meeting felt disingenuous. It seemed intended to steer the audience away from the board's ultimate accountability and toward a feeling of shame. Number 5, leaders energize and inspire. What will it take to pass the next levy? A board can energize and inspire parents, businesses, the community, and volunteers. State funding is on a per-pupil basis. Additional students generate funding. Many expenses are fixed, at least to a point. Therefore, the district would benefit by growth in the number of students served. However, Forest Lake is a net loser when it comes to open enrollment, with 23% of students enrolling outside the Forest Lake Public Schools, while only drawing 10% from outside the district. At the listening session, Ms. Thiessen didn't want to hear discussion of this and told the room the problem was the district's location. Data doesn't support this. Chisago Lakes has a 3% gap between the 12% of students opting out and the 9% it draws. Our neighbors at the Centennial District are net winners. Only 7% of the district students leave the district, but 18% of its enrollment is from other districts. A strong district will bring people to our community. This will be good for business, property values, and the community as a whole. Research published in the Journal of Urban Economics states, it is well known that the quality of local public school system is a crucial determinant in the demand for housing in the neighborhood. Any change in perceived quality of local public schools is likely to have an important impact on housing demand and therefore housing prices in the area. I want to support the board in changing the situation. To do this, I need 3 things. Number 1, I need open and honest communication from the board. Shielding the community from cuts is not a good way to gain support. Number 2, I request that the board look inward to understand its role in leading the district to a place of adequate funding within the current realities. Number 3, I need a passionate, energized, and inspiring leaders on the board who will bring together parents, businesses, and the community, give us a unified voice, and inspire the change the board wants to see. This is done through genuine leadership, not through an environment of blame, shame, and hanging heads. Respectfully submitted, Shireen Jetson, district parent. And I have a copy for you.
All right, thank you. Angie Lundblad.
Hello. I wasn't able to make it to the listening session, but I had another parent, and I'm from out of district, but PTSA president for CME. I had another parent that had sent me a reading that they wanted to have presented to the board that didn't get it to me on time for that public hearing. So I just wanted to make sure that this was on record for them. So it says, hello, my name is Jessica, and I would like to express my own sorrow and my child's sorrow for the possible closing of CME. Not only has my child exceeded since she's been at CME, but she's also made quite the amount of friends. She loves this school and has already been switched from her Isanti school in 2nd grade and would like to stay with her friends and family at CME. My second daughter has attended the Steps Ahead program for 2 years now, and we're really looking forward to her transition from Steps Ahead to Miss Barbie's as an easy one, but now I'm certainly not sure of that. Again, the school has been a blessing since my children have attended, and I hope you'll find it in your souls and budget to keep this small school and family and friends alive. Thank you for your support again. Keep CME a prized possession to so many. Sorry I could not be there to speak on my behalf. It is a nurse's life. Thank you, Jessica. And so then I had printed off all of the letters that I read at the last meeting, as well as some of the communications that's been coming out to families. And I just wanted to say for myself, I understand that from that last meeting, the publishing delay was not the board's fault at all. And I know that came off, it was very bad kind of vibe at the end of that last meeting, but we understand it was not your fault. It just came as such a shock to a lot of families, especially with that last meeting where you guys were there and able to talk with Kelly and talk about this possible transition plan for students in 4 days. For a lot of our high need students is going to be really tricky to transition people. So just make sure that you keep that in mind when you are making your decisions, that timeline, a lot of families are very nervous about that and now kind of racing to tour and check out other schools. And we're currently up to 49 students. That's currently enrolled students, siblings, and then incoming kindergartners that would not enroll in a Forest Lake District school if CMU were to close. 7 more would do 1 year at a Forest Lake school, and then they're looking to do the NLA or LELA option, an out-of-district option. I know that addition of K4 for LELA is really enticing to a lot of families right now, and so they're kind of trying to weigh those options. And I really hope the board will consider looking into other options before closing CME, because we really are that only alternative option for K6 kids in the district. That's that choice school that I'm sure that you heard from the other families. It's a really unique school that meets those needs, and I would hate for those families to lose families that would stay in the district and continue on if they have that CME option, and lose them to NLA if we lose that option. So that's it, and then here are the statements. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, student achievement, community education.
Massey, members of the school board, and board president Raphael, I appreciate your time tonight. For us to come out and talk about community education, it's hard to believe I'm coming up on already 2 years in the district. I made one mistake, I blinked, and here we are coming up on the completion of almost 2 years, and 2 great years. And so this is my second opportunity to give a presentation of positive happenings that are going on in the world of community education. And if you recall, last year I came in as a first year director and thought it would be wise to give an overview of all of our programming that we had, and then coming into year 2 looking to do a deep dive into one of our programs that right now is currently flourishing and we're really excited about. So as we get in here, we're going to be taking a real close look at our early childhood education, and as we talk about enrollment, as we talk about funding and all of these conversations that we have, most certainly we see our role in that as well as being that first point of entry into our school buildings. And knowing that when kids do get into our buildings, they want to stay. And so we take that responsibility very seriously. I have with me our early childhood programs coordinator, Bethany Hardy, who will be here to share a little bit this evening as well as we look at our programming. So just a quick recap. I'm not going to go over into all these points here. This was some information I shared last year, but it's very important work to us. One of the first things I did when I got here is we as a staff and a team engaged in what is the purpose of community education. We came up with these purpose statements, and also then what is it that we value. And so as we look at all of our programming that we have and we're really proud about, we weigh everything against our purpose and our values, and does it align? And if it doesn't, then either A, we're going down a direction maybe we shouldn't, or B, we need to relook at our purpose and our value statements. So this is just an overview of the programs that I highlighted last year and that we are looking to continue to grow. This would be what you would see throughout our catalog that we put out every 3 times a year. We have our elementary youth programs, our adult classes, our ABE program. We have our adults with disabilities, childcare, athletics, aquatics, early childhood, communities, preschool. And then the last 2 components on there, we have leadership coordinators for, but they're not necessarily programs that we're running, but are essential in our community education efforts, our marketing and the technology aspect there. So as we get in here, and I'm going to turn it over to Bethany, we're going to take a look at our early childhood program.
Well, good evening. My name is Bethany Hardy. I am the Early Childhood Coordinator, and thank you very much for having me here today. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you a brief overview of what we do in early childhood. So one of the big things in our district is that we are officially a PBIS district. So everybody's got PBIS happening in there. And we have what's called the pyramid model in preschool. So essentially what this is, it is the preschool version of PBIS. It's gone through a couple of different names. There's TAXI, and now it's pyramid model, and I believe they're going through another name change here shortly. But we are entering our 6th year of full implementation on this. One of the great things that we have is we are actually implementing this in every single classroom. So some districts are implementing it in just a few of their classrooms, whereas we're implementing it in every single preschool class we offer, whether it's 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds. And then we also brought it down to the early childhood for the birth to 3-year-olds. And then this year, on top of it, we moved it into the school age care program. So now we have a lot of really great language happening for our students that are coming from SEPs or coming from SAC going into the grades. So they all are using the same language. We all have expectations. Sorry.
If you could
Yeah.
just please tell everyone
Yeah.
what PBIS is. Sometimes they use the acronyms. and
Yeah,
so
so
on.
basically what we're doing is we're promoting positive behavior intervention services.
Thank you.
So we're really focusing on the positive of students. We're looking at telling them more of the what to do. We've always learned that we don't tell them what not to do, we tell them what to do. So we have expectations posted for our preschool students. You see them posted around elementary schools. We take it down a little level because they're preschoolers and they cannot read. So we have visuals with very simple expectations. So in the hallway we are being respectful by walking and keeping our hands to ourselves. So we typically have signs around our program with 3 expectations, and that's it. Because if we say more than 3, it goes right over their heads. So we do also have parent pyramid model classes that we offer. This year we did a needs assessment of our parents, and they said that they don't know enough about the pyramid model and how we utilize it. So we actually we call it Pyramid Model 101. where parents can come in and learn how to use it into their homes. And then we follow that up with the pyramid model make and take, where they can actually tell us what their needs are for their families, and we can help them build a visual schedule for their child. I attended it. I made a visual schedule for my child for bedtime because we were struggling. And it's been great for us at home too. So it's kind of bridging that gap from school to home. Our early childhood program, we have many aspects of just the ECFE is typically what you hear. So we have separating classes, non-separating classes, we have day classes, evening classes. We pair up with Head Start. We actually have a class going on right now for Head Start over at the CLC. We have drop-in gym and plays. We actually go out to the hospitals. So one of our parent educators, Jessica Rayfeld, goes to the hospital to visit new parents, gives them some resources. We don't necessarily use it as a promotional time. We use it more as an educational time to teach them what ECFE is. Because a lot of the families that have a child in Wyoming, Fairview, aren't necessarily in our district, but it's still important for them to have that information. We go out into the community, so we go to some festivals. You'll see Miss Robin Bigelow Anderson, if you know her. She's fantastic. But she's always out at Lake Fest at the Arts in the Park there on the children's nights. We have early childhood screening. This is a state requirement, so students entering kindergarten must be screened before they should be screened before they enter. A lot of times we do get them when they turn 5 years old. So we screen for the entire district. Whether they come to our schools or not, they still come to us for screening. We actually go out to WIC clinics, and we also provide screening out there, as well as going out to daycares and pairing with them so that we can provide them with that. So early childhood screening will identify any developmental delays that a child may have so that we can catch them early and implement any interventions. We have preschool transition classes where we kind of ease them, so they're 3, and they come to school with their parents one day, and then they come without their parents another day, and then they're more ready for preschool for that separation. And one of our most exciting things is Generation Station. So we just started this, we got it off, we've been trying to get it off the ground, and now in April, Miss Robin is going out to Cherrywood Point, and she's hosting an ECFE class there with the residents there, and they're working hand in hand with us. And it's been just such a great collaboration to get kids in there, and parents have been excited to go. We just haven't had enough to go. So of course, we get it going in April, now it's the end of the school year. So we're really hoping to get that back up and running in the beginning. For our special events, we have a multitude of special events. Here's a very long list of them. But probably our biggest one is the Unscary Halloween. This is probably my favorite picture of all time. Families really go all out for this. It's a great time for kids to come out and have some fun that's not really scary. We have tons of games, staff are there, volunteers are there. It's really a great time. We also, you can see the Big Rig there. We have Big Rig Day actually this weekend. It's on Saturday, so bring your littles out there. Starts at 9:30, and we actually got to partner with Hardwood Creek this year. So it was another kind of community outreach. So they are providing the teddy bear band. So how do you say no to the teddy bear band? So we said, absolutely, we'll partner with you. So we also host family night. So we have family art night, and we have family Lego night at all of our sites. For preschool with parents is one of our preschool classes that we offer. This is where the child attends with their parent one day a week, and then the other day they come independently. During that time when the parents are there, they actually get to sit down and meet with the parent educator with the group of parents. Sometimes people come in and they'll think that, oh, you're just having coffee. But we really are having really great in-depth conversations with parents on development, things to do that are in the area, and just great parenting techniques. This is also where we bring in our pyramid model. We do offer sibling care as well for families that have more than one child. So if they have a 3-year-old and they're in 3-year-old preschool that day with their child, but they have a 1-year-old, all they have to do is bring them to the sibling care room, and we have staff there that will take care of their 1-year-old child so they can focus primarily on their 3-year-old. We also have family learning program, and we partner with Adult Basic Education for this. So families come and they are able to eat lunch together. They have some time in the classroom, then the parents separate and they go with the parent educator for a while, and then they go down to ABE and they work on their goals there. This has been a really great program for us. We see it grow every single year. Next year, we always struggle with the little ones, but we have, I think, 7 little siblings to come in. So it's for the whole entire family, so they all get to come. Our child-only preschool is definitely growing. We get to feature Mr. Fox right on the front there. We have options for preschool. We have half-day preschool as well as full-day. We have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we also have a 4-day half-day, either in the morning or the PM. Our most exciting thing about this is our full-day preschool is in every single elementary starting next year. So this year we were in every elementary besides Forest View because we had our programming at the CLC. But now next year we're moving that program to Forest View. So we will officially be in every K-3 elementary school. We're not in Forest Lake Elementary. We do have Monday through Friday offerings at Forest View, Lionel Lakes, and Wyoming. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday out at Linwood, Columbus, and Scandia. And the classes are filling, and we are I put on here looking to further expand, but we actually expanded today because Scandia, we have struggled for years to get Scandia up and running, and this year was a huge hit. Next year we actually have it full already with 5 people on the wait list. So I've opened up a Tuesday, Thursday option for that, so hopefully families will be able to get in. We also at Forest View are completely full with, I think it's 9 or 10 people now on the wait list. So we opened up a Monday, Wednesday, Friday full day at the CLC. So we're definitely expanding. Rooms are getting tight for us, so we have to be strategic about where we're putting families right now. One of the questions that Steve and I have talked about before are, do they stay in our district? And we know that we want to get them in, we want to get them exposed to our early childhood programs, especially when we're in the elementary schools. It's great to build those relationships. Principals are awesome at coming into our preschool classes, building relationships with the children, with the families. I think the one that always sticks out is Mr. Slater hit peeps around our classroom in Wyoming. And the kids, because apparently you really dislike peeps, from what I hear.
I don't like them.
Yes. So he hit them all around, and the kids had to find them and count the peeps as they found them. So it's just kind of those nice little interactions that really build the climate and makes families really want to stay. So in 2017-18, so this school year, we had 78 of our preschool students remain in the school district, or remain in kindergarten in the district. And this year, we have 77% of them, but that is as of 4:30. So there's still those families that still need to register. So we are getting a nice retention there, and the kids are staying in our district, which is great to see. I have not gone as far to dig in to see how many of those kids are attended Scandia, stayed in Scandia yet, but it's kind of assumed that a lot of them do. But that's definitely our next area to dig into. I was actually at a retirement party with Gail just a little while ago, and we were talking about enrollment and how our enrollment is looking right now. So I looked it up before I left, and we actually have, right now, we have 137 3 to 5 year olds that are registered, with 23 of them on a wait list. With 23 additional, on the wait list. We also have the projection of approximately 50 early childhood special ed students coming in. And so just for perspective, for last year, when we ended the school year, we had 200 general education students and 45 special education students. We are almost up to where we were last year at this point. So it's really great to see some expansion in our program right now. Yeah, so I also brought for you, just so you can get a nice close-up of Mr. Fox. This is our preschool brochure that we send out to, we use our census data to determine who has a 3-year-old, 4-year-old in our program, and then we send them this. So frame it, put it on your walls, please. He'll appreciate it.
Thank you, Bethany. And one of the things I want to expound upon is with that community preschool, we are so fortunate here in Forest Lake to have the relationship that we do with the leadership in each of the buildings, and whether it be the teachers and of course especially the principals. We sit around in our ad council and we talk about ways that we can integrate, collaborate, and improve upon. And they're very invested in our preschool program. And one thing I can say is that doesn't happen in every district. I have colleagues of mine who work in other districts, and I won't say them by name, who envy what we have, a model that we have, where we have our elementary principals embracing that program, seeing those kids as one of their own in the future, and really as one of their own right now. So just a reminder, we have 3 seasonal catalogs that come out in the mail each year, fall, winter, spring. And just a couple wrap-up informations by the numbers. We started a new youth service club this year at the high school. Lori Grolson, our youth and adult programs coordinator, worked with Aaron Forsythe to actually create a program where we're promoting youth service at which kids can earn a varsity letter for. And we just put sort of an informational meeting out there, and boom, we had 20 high school kids sign up already. So right now, our next challenge, which is a good problem to have, is to look for things for them to do. But we'll find plenty for sure, and they'll come up with a lot for themselves. 106 students enrolled in driver's ed since we partnered with A+ back in June of 2017. Number of kids working on their ACT prep. The cheerleading and dance class, American Red Cross numbers are up. And then this is another really good one. We partnered with NFL flag football to really boost our NFL or our flag football program, just to get kids exposed, to get them out. And the best part, one of the biggest highlights of this is that the kids get an actual NFL jersey and they're on the Giants or they're on the Packers or on the Vikings, and they get to keep that. And just from our first year of 2017 spring, we had 141 participants. Here we are 1 year later, we're at 248 in that program. So we're looking to grow and continue to grow that program. The last slide I have here is sort of our concept that we work on as a staff. Last year we really worked on just staff culture and nice bite, which was a form of acknowledging one another and the work that we do in community ed. And now this year what we've done in community ed is to bridge that into really honing in on polishing up the customer service product that we put out. Knowing full well that community education, our school district, is, I mean, every interaction people have, they have with us, and we want to always put our best foot forward. So a couple of things that our staff has engaged in, we brought in the Minneapolis Parks and Rec Board, who they specialize in this, and they came and did a staff training for our classified staff in service. And then the community ed staff went through what's called Customer Service Boot Camp. And then we are currently engaged in a year-long book study called Who's Your Gladys, and it basically is talking about taking that one customer who might be like the biggest thorn in your side or your biggest arch nemesis, and actually turning them into your best advocate for your program. And so we're continuing to work there, and then we're working on right now, in fact just this morning we got about 3/4 of the way of finishing what we are calling our community education customer service standards. Things that we all do, but putting them in a streamlined fashion so that we're all doing them consistently. So with that, with either early child or community education in general, we open up. Do you have any questions or comments for us?
I have a question, and thank you, Bethany. That was great information. Corey, what a wonderful report, just seeing those numbers go up. I had a question, and I love the PBIS, the Positive Behavior Intervention Systems with the preschool. Did you say we're doing that for 6 years already?
Yes, we're just finishing our 5th year and entering into our 6th year.
That is awesome. That common language that they can carry on to all those grades as they go up. Did you say that with the ABE class connection, that's growing as well? Because I know we've done that for a long time. And
yes, and it kind of always goes through, dips and valleys there, but we are seeing some really nice growth in there. This school year when we started, we were very low in numbers, and we were a little concerned that we weren't going to really have a program. And now this year we already have enough to run our preschool class with no questions asked.
Wow. And one last thing, when we go out to do all the screening like we do, I know we go out to the Little Lamb preschool at Elam and do their screenings. Are we able to bring our catalogs and bring our information or provide any district materials?
We typically do have some promotional materials there. We work with Alexa Nelson, who's our marketing coordinator, and she develops our flyers for us, and so we can bring those to our activities.
And then do you know if there's any way to track? I had in my little cul-de-sac a couple of new families move in with little ones. I think I shared you that, so I went running over there with community ed because I knew they wanted to get into classes that might be filling. Do we get anything that tells us when we have new residents and we can get that catalog out there right away? Or
that part I'm not entirely sure. I know that I do receive birth records from DHS, and we go through and filter who was born in the Tri-County, who is in our district, and we send them a welcome to our district. We'd love it if you came. We have free baby classes, welcoming them into our program. But As
Yeah,
far as
we don't receive anything that says so-and-so just moved into the district. But that's one of the things with the catalog is why we always put the preschool programs and early child programs in all three, even like in our winter catalog, starting to push out everything for the following year, which of course, Bethany has to be way ahead of the game to have her programming set a year and a half in advance. But beyond the push of our catalog, we don't get anything
And that goes
new.
to all residents,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Everybody.
Yep.
Oh, well,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's an exciting report.
No, I was just gonna say what a great presentation and doing a great job. And
Thank
just
you.
to hear those numbers and getting those little ones in so early, I said that is really key to growing our district.
Absolutely.
And I've been saying that for quite a while. Just to know that each elementary is holding that now, that is phenomenal.
It was
So,
really exciting when
do
we
you
got
see-
Scandia
Yeah,
going, too.
Scandia is, because I
Yes.
know it's been a
Yes.
big issue for a while. So which, what elementary is, like, do you see the most growth besides Scandia? Is there other areas that seem to be really growing? or
Our
really-
CLC location is probably one of our bigger ones.
Okay.
Wyoming is also probably the second biggest.
Okay.
So those ones, like I said, Forest View is already completely full, so those families are already in. Wyoming, I believe, only has like one spot left. Lionel Lakes only has a couple of Tuesday, Thursday positions left. So all the full days they pretty much fill up.
Wow.
And we have people on wait lists, and we try to scoot them in as people shake out a little
That's
bit.
wonderful. I mean, I remember personally, my kids were always at ECFE, but they didn't have that option when my
Mhm.
kids were little, and I would have definitely brought my kids there because I
Yeah.
think it's a big transition between preschool and kindergarten. So they're already there. What a great
Well,
beginning, more success, I would think, for those kids.
Yes.
It's a big nice bite to our staff because they've done a great job. You know, when Bethany first met with me around, especially Scandia, and we sat down and we looked at, okay, our number, we just haven't been able to make this go. We're thinking maybe we can get 5 or 6. I said, let's go. Let's give it a shot. And maybe it won't be where we need it to be that first year. If we get the right people in there and working with a great principal out there with Principal Griman, I know that the talk will be there, and it will be what's there in year 2 and 3, and we're seeing the fruit of that labor too. And Bethany's done a wonderful job of growing the program. I couldn't be more proud of her.
Yeah, congratulations. It's been great.
We do offer now this school age care program. They're offering before and after school care in the elementary buildings.
For the preschoolers.
For our
Okay.
preschoolers,
Wow.
which is really helping.
That's huge.
Member Moran?
I really appreciate the family connection that you make with the parents. So needed in our communities these days that there's fraction out there, and to make sure that we keep the family as the primary educator of those students, and for them to be able to come in and see what you're doing, and then with PBIS, take that home and camp. You just have to know it's a big help for our siblings and whatever that are all in the different programs.
Absolutely.
To relate to that, it's such a positive thing, as is Corey coming to the district and you with your presentation. This, you can't get any better. I mean, on communication, and we go through it, and we're just so proud of how you put the information together. It's just always upbeat, and I know I might make fun of this picture that I'm gonna put up on my mantle.
I love that picture though.
Well, and we have very, very fine elementary principals, and I'm glad you mentioned that some don't participate, ours do.
We're very fortunate.
And to have our principals highlighted in any way, I'm very happy about that. They do a very good job.
Thank you.
Great job.
All right, well, thanks for coming out.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your work. All right, Columbus Elementary, Principal Fox. And if anybody would like to come up and take pictures, you can come around up here. Feel free.
Smile nice.
Get the best angle.
Wow.
That's right.
Working in community education like that, Corey and Bethany, is just outstanding. And so I thank them for their support, and we're in a lot different spot than we were, 5-6 years ago. And so just the partnerships that I see taking place with the K-6 students and the kindergarten teachers with our preschool students on a daily basis is just amazing. They did a nice job of photoshopping my picture in there as well.
That picture again, is that what you say?
Yes, right. Good evening, Forest Lake board members and Superintendent Dr. Massey. My name is Neil Fox, the elementary school principal at Columbus Elementary School. I am honored tonight to briefly share with you a 6th grade student's perspective of positive happenings at our elementary school. This is their journey, and how much they have meant to us cannot be captured in 10 minutes, can only be kind of imagined. So these selected students represent our student body of about 60 sixth graders ready to capture Forest Lake Middle School with confidence, rigor, and passion for learning. So for introductions,
I'm Tucker Sybil.
Hi, I'm Maya Hansen.
And I'm Nolan DeMonto.
so let me give these 5 outstanding Columbus students a little warm-up questions, kind of a one-word response. So what does Columbus mean to you?
Effort.
Respect.
Friends. Teamwork.
In one sentence, if someone asked you, what is your favorite memory of Columbus Elementary School?
Last year, our school held like a track meet, and we do it every year, and it's called Track and Field Day. And Team Force, because we have a relay team, and Team Force, pretty good time. And our team went, and we won by half a second, so that was
Right?
Every year, the high school kids come to our school. It's called Spirit House.
Tucker?
Every year, well, yeah, the last year I was in this, it's a softball game against staff, like the staff at Columbus, and 6th grade and 5th graders. And last year we won.
Now though, I got Mr. McKinnon coming this year. Maya?
Definitely Family Fun Night, which is this Friday.
And Nolan?
So actually 2 days ago we had an orchestra concert with Caden and the rest of the district.
What do you play?
I played the viola. Me and Caden both did.
So Caden down here, I see that his academic successes as defined by our Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments in math, reading, and 5th grade science. Caden, for 4 straight years since 3rd grade, he's scored exceeding, which is beyond the standards in every test session. So Caden, why?
I think it's because of the teachers and how much effort they put in, and all the time they put in, making sure that everybody understands it, not going too fast, and making sure everyone's on the same page.
You have an enrichment period called target time to meet your identified high potential student at Columbus, a cluster student since 2nd grade. You want to say a few words about that?
We have a teacher who helps us like make some of the kids. Her name is Mrs. Taki, and she challenges you, and she makes learning fun, and she just puts it in a fun way, and it's creative, and it's a good time.
So thanks to Caden, a true pleasure to work with. His brother Marty's 11th grader in the Forest Lake area schools. Father Bart and a lovely mother Ann, who I know is watching over Caden. Brooke, Brookie here didn't know that any new kid that comes to Columbus ends up getting a nickname. So Brooke becomes Brookie, and so she's the daughter of Christopher and Amanda. So Brookie joined us from Parkview Elementary School on a family move from Lakeville, Minnesota. Not necessarily easy to fit in, but she adjusted very quickly last year in 5th grade. So why and what contributed to your successes, Brookie, and confidence as a relatively new student last year?
All the students and staff accepted me, and they helped me out when I was struggling.
So as she stated, we have a real strong foundation that focuses on outreach, sense of belongingness, school climate, and strong decision making. So thanks to Brookie and her brother Bo down there in 4th grade have been welcome additions to our elementary school. Tucker here on my left, I think of the words effort, effort, and effort. No matter what the results are, he puts in an amazing amount of time. Is not afraid to advocate for himself. Our resources at Columbus are very systematic, laser focused, and pooled to meet the needs of all learners. So Tucker accepts supports as needed, and it shows in his conduct and his attitude. So Tucker knows our behavioral statement and our school-wide expectations. Tucker?
At Columbus, something great is called PAWS. Each of the letters stand for a character trait. P stands for personal best. A stands for act responsibly. W is for work and play safe. S is show kindness. If you earn a PAW, your name goes into a drawing. If your name gets picked, you can win a prize. Books, family fun night, tickets, bingo cards, 2 bingo cards, and other stuff.
So at Columbus, we respect the individuality of all students, understanding that there is no single path to success, and we do whatever is necessary to help all students be successful. It's been great having Tucker and his family a part of our learning community. To my left is Maya. Leadership, strong foundational skills come to mind for this fine young lady. Big picture-wise, she's fostered a lot of leadership skills at Columbus Elementary, and so what has fostered or nurtured your leadership skills at Columbus, and can you explain what Columbus has offered to you in those areas?
Well, it definitely offers a lot of support from staff and my friends, and most of my friends are actually on the team with me, so that definitely helps. And our counselor, Miss Webb, she runs it and she talks everyone through it. And I think in leadership we work towards the goal of the better good for others.
Great. And finally, you're going to hear about this star down here on and off the fields of play, Nolan DeMoncio. Your experience as a teammate and a student at Columbus, what kind of teamwork skills will you take with you that will be a part of the rest of your life?
Well, like you said, teamwork. Both on and off the field is a big part of how to be disciplined and dedicated and successful. In getting along and getting along with others. Columbus has also taught me that discipline is key.
So Nolan's athletic participation in activities has been about discipline, being dedicated, getting along with others, all skills that's going to help him and others in his future schooling and beyond. So we kind of heard a little bit firsthand here about the students and enjoying the challenging studies and encouraging one another to contribute to their best efforts in and outside the classroom. So we feel the key ingredients to 21st century learning at Columbus is being critical thinkers, problem solvers, leadership, creativity, and teamwork. So I'm thankful to be a part of their lives, and they certainly make me the best instructional leader that I can possibly be. So thank you.
Yeah. Any questions from the
I
board?
just think JP is one lucky principal for next year. You're gonna just fit right in and take your leadership and your teamwork skills with you and have an amazing middle school.
Are you guys worried about the transition to junior high?
Not so much on it.
Yeah.
Just every other day, school.
A little bigger.
It'll be a little more challenging.
What's going to be great is you'll meet more kids. Just think of all the kids that you'll be meeting and new friends to be made and more sports to play and things like that. But you'll be the first class there. First 7th grade class.
Mhm.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I know Mr. Fox, Brooke told me earlier when I was talking with her that she already had a tour, right, of the middle school, so that's awesome. Your principal took you there, and it's just part of feeling at home then. But I had one question for, was your name Jared? Tucker, I'm sorry.
That's right.
How many paws do you have to earn to get the lunch on the stage with Mr. Fox? Is that a lot of paws?
I have no idea.
Fine dining, steak and lobster.
Just have to keep working.
It's pretty popular though, right, the fine
Yes.
dining?
Yep.
Ooh, well, thank you. You're just outstanding students, and thank you for your words tonight. It meant a lot.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. How do you guys think you grade your school?
11 out of 10.
Whoa, no.
Whoa, I like those numbers.
10 out of 10.
7 out of 10, that's pretty high marks.
11 out of 10 is pretty great.
You know, I get a lot of criticism from people that, we should cut sports and all that kind of stuff, and I think you said it today, you know, that's what's teaching you to be the adults you're going to be, and I know my boys went through that, and the skills they learned while they were playing sports made them keep their academics up and learned a lot about getting along with others. So it's good to hear from a young person that you appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, well, thanks for coming out, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Pretty good job under pressure, I'd say.
I'd say impressive.
All right, 2018-2019 middle school, high schools, school transition, superintendent.
Sure, I'm gonna ask Jim Caldwell, high school principal, and JP Jacobson, the principal currently at Century and Southwest, but next year principal of our Forest Lake Area Middle School, to take a few minutes and talk with you as a board about the work that they've led along with their staff in preparation of the transition of all 7th and 8th graders to our middle school and 9th graders for the first time in a long, long time in our district as part of our high school. JP?
Dr. Massey, President Raphael, and members of the school board, I speak on behalf of my colleague and high school principal Jim Caldwell, and we thank you for this invitation to come and talk with you about the work that Dr. Massey just mentioned. And I think one of the reasons why that so many students from Columbus transition so well to the middle school and junior high is just the general likeness that I share with their current principal, Neil Fox. We often get confused with each other in the hallway when kids are walking through the middle school. So, but nonetheless, I want to share with you that we really have some exciting things happening on more of the human end of things. Mr. Martini has been in front of you numerous times to show you pictures of the construction, project bids, just the overall logistics of the bricks and mortar that are happening. And he and his team have been incredibly responsive to the planning elements of our transition that are equally important. And so, in the fall of 2016, Dr. Massey led the transition team along with Julie Griman, and I led the identity team along with Diane Georgie. And members of this board were on those teams. And I mention that because that work is so important because it drove a list of teams that came out of that. So what you're going to hear here in a moment from both Mr. Caldwell and myself are going to be some items that are familiar based on your participation that you heard from during those meetings and when we presented the action team results to this board a little over a year ago. Since that time, ad hoc committees were put together to say, now with the charge given to us by our strategic planning team and these teams, and the approval to move forward with this from this board, we said, how are we going to actually make this happen? We need to come through on this commitment. This is important and valuable work. So this ad hoc committee has decided here are the things, the big bucket items that we need to focus on as we make this transition and do it well. Then led into the summer educational design team, almost 500 hours of work from teachers and principals and leaders in this district, Dr. Massey and Mr. Caldwell being part of that. And then we presented that educational framework to this board last August. We've been working with that as our charter, as our constitution, our steering guide ever since. In the fall and in November, we had our building leadership team and members of our design team meet over several nights to come up with a name for Forest Lake Area Middle School and to take that framework and begin to put it in action. They gave direction and guidance for implementation teams to begin to meet after the January New Year, and they have worked through this spring, and I'm glad to share some of that work with you tonight. With that, we broke our middle school, speaking specifically to the middle school design team, around these human practices that we want to make sure that we do and do well. We want to continue to communicate at a high level. We do a great job on each of these things already, but we know that we can continue to get better at family communication, at comprehensive student input, and policies and practices related to supporting kids. And part of that was getting from our kids and our families some survey results around how they felt we could continue to support them. We had hundreds of responses from parents at the middle school and how we could get better at some of these items, and we talked to kids about how we can do them too. And here's where we landed on those items. In terms of comprehensive student support, going into next year, we know that right now in our community, we're talking about small schools. People want deep personal relationships with their teachers. We want that in every one of our schools, middle school and high school included. And so a building that will have about 1,000 kids in it next year, some parents say, how will that work? How will my student not get forgotten? We're not gonna make sure that a kid goes unnoticed. We're gonna make sure that a kid has a relationship with every adult. So we are looking at our school in terms of 3 smaller schools of about 300 kids. And the new wing would be called the green team. The current 7th grade wing is gonna be called the tan team. And the current 8th grade wing will be the blue team. And that will have about 300, just over 300 kids in each one of those small schools within the middle school. And so in that way, we benefit from creating a small school experience while also leveraging some of the large school amenities like family consumer science, engineering, a fully stocked media center, business labs where we do coding and other business-related classes, art. Those are the things that we can offer in a large school while also making this school feel small. Each of our wings or each of our teams will be multi-grade level. So a kid comes in and they get to have the same group of teachers, same group of adults giving them guidance, building them relationships with them, having them as their advisor teacher for 2 years, perhaps even the same locker. Think of that. So that we make that school feel as comfortable and familiar to kids during their going through their teenage years as we possibly can, while at the same time being able to interact with kids across the building at lunch, in Phi-Ed, and all of their electives. We also, the team wanted to support each of their teams with a counselor, so we have 3 counselors at the middle school. Next year, 1 will be attached to each team to provide support, to help with team recognition, to talk kids through their course registration, every one of those things. We're going to use them and their counselors to focus on those deep personal relationships that I just talked about, and at the same time creating a comprehensive advisory model where we focus on the elements of character education, community building, team celebrations, making sure kids are connecting with each other across the district, finding some way to give back to our community through community service projects, and then providing ongoing academic support so kids don't fall through the cracks. In the area of family communication, they've talked a lot about how we can continue to communicate with families better and at a higher level than we currently are. We have got great digital tools for gradebook, for communication, for uploading assignments that we did not have 8 or 15 years ago. And so with the advent and the proliferation of those tools, parents are, through our surveys and through conversation, are asking for something new. They want something different in terms of a conference experience. We still want to make sure that we honor parents that want to come and sit down with their teacher and talk through those conversations. And we're going to have in the fall goal-setting conversations for 7th and 8th graders. 7th grade and 8th grade conversations might look slightly different. Whereas 7th grade, you're talking about how can we make this middle school experience some of the best experience that they've had in their education thus far. In 8th grade, how are we going to prepare kids for finishing out strong and transitioning to the high school well? And doing that, allowing parents to schedule a time to come in rather than wait in lines. So we have a need to look at some scheduling software, while at the same time allowing parents that just want to drop in, that they can do that. In the spring, offering something similar, as well as an expo of student work. And this will sound familiar to all of you that were part of the action teams from the fall of 2016. One of the goals that we talked about is how can we draw more and more of our parents and our community members into our classrooms, into our school. So we are now in year 2 of a concept around that. The picture that you see right now is an event that happened less than a week ago in the main hallway of the Century building. These are just a section of the cafeteria tables that we moved out of our cafeteria and down the main hallway, and that's all examples of student research and work, and they They presented that work to family and others that came down the hallway, and we want to now expand that even greater to the point where this involves work that might cross multiple disciplines and those sorts of things. So that is ongoing. And then the teams that worked on this particular area also acknowledged that we want to put together bi-weekly team level newsletters so parents know what's happening in each one of the teams, class calendars so they can log in and they can see what's not only happened, what's due tomorrow, but what happened last week or what's happening while they're in vacation 2 weeks from now, and pull down those assignments. And the purchase of our Synergy program allows for this. And then just access to all those things that they need, so that when somebody comes home and says, I forgot it in my locker, well, that's okay. We can log in and we can do it and get it in front of you right now. So those are some of the things that group has worked on. Also around policies and practices is in terms of how can we make this transition go really well. And you just heard from a couple 6th graders from Columbus that they have already been on the middle school, Forest Lake area middle school campus, because they were given tours of it back in January. We also did an orientation with parents at that time where they got to walk through the building and see some of the renderings that we had up in the places where we had construction ongoing. So that was a great way to get them familiar with their school, and we're going to continue to do that in the future. That's what this team's recommendations was to do. We have transition events that are happening even yet this spring. So one of the things that we didn't want to forget are our 7th graders that are currently at Southwest who never got that web tour of the Century building. So on the 18th, we are busing them over after lunches, and we are mixing all of the 7th graders from Century and from Southwest in advisories. We're doing a team building activity. They're going to be decorating puzzle pieces that in a way that describes who they are as an individual, and then we'll be assembling those puzzles and posting them in our building so that the building reflects them when they come back in the fall. And our PTO has generously donated ice cream treats for them to go outside and just have a big mixer at the end of the day and catch the buses home from there. So that's happening on May 18th, and Jim Caldwell is going to talk about something similar to doing at the high school here in a moment. And then in August, we're going to continue to do our web event, Where Everybody Belongs. This time we'll be welcoming over 500 kids and making that a small school experience for them. That's happening on August 23rd, and then certainly open houses that we're going to have in the fall. In the beginning of the year, through TEFLA, they granted us some money to create videos and that are humorous but also informational and quirky for kids, so that they see what are our PBIS expectations, that we teach those. We don't make the mistake that kids automatically are born knowing what our expectations are, but we get ahead of that. We show them using positive language, much like all of our buildings already do in the leadership of Kurt Slater in our district, and doing that well in our middle school. And then finally, we have developed a clear, common school-wide grading policy so that parents aren't guessing how much does a quiz count, or what's our late policy from teacher to teacher that's common across our building. And teachers came together, passionate on that topic, and I'll tell you what, if there's anything that teachers are passionate about, really, it's grading, and they all came and they had hard conversations and came to one policy, which was fantastic. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague.
Jake, it's important to stress that when the teams did that work, it was a combination of Century and Southwest staff
absolutely
working together.
Yep.
On that.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. I didn't want to forget that. Yes, every team had membership from both buildings, and the teams that you heard me describe a moment ago, the teaming concept, the small schools, every one of those green, tan, and blue houses also have an even mix of Southwest and Century teachers. And you would when we sent that out, we surveyed teachers and what they were looking for in colleagues and the type of team that they all wanted to work with. The common themes were positivity, student focus, innovation, and thinking about ways that we can do things differently for kids. And it was so heartwarming to see that. We put teachers on teams, and they were automatically connecting with each other over email, setting up times to go and meet. It was really a wonderful, heartwarming thing. So.
There could be a
Before I get started with what the high school is doing, I just want to, I'm not sure if a lot of people know the work that JP has really put into this year. Bringing 9th grade into the high school is a big deal. Restructuring a junior high is totally a whole nother concept. And he's run 2 junior highs while he's doing that at the same time, and just hats off to him publicly for the work that he has done. And I would also like to thank for Mr. Jacobson and myself, Dr. Massey and Diane Georgie. We meet every Tuesday here at 7 o'clock in the morning for a transition meeting, just to make sure that we're not dropping the ball on anything, so we make sure that we do this right. I did, and Dr. Massey, and I think we actually had a high school teacher or 2 participate in the summer activities that JP led with the junior highs. That really set the foundation for what the high school was going to do as well. When you think about moving the 9th grade in, it's really not that big a deal. We're just, we're welcoming 500 kids into our building, 300 I think it is. It's not that big a deal on the outside, but when you really look at it, we're bringing 50% of our student body is going to be brand new next year. And with that comes some challenges. When we met with our building leadership team at the beginning of the year, we started down the same road that we were doing with the junior highs to go through all of that visioning and restructuring, and they said, whoa, wait a minute, Jim. Do we really need to change absolutely everything that we're doing at the high school? Overwhelmingly collecting data from our teachers, they said absolutely not. Our mission is very sound. So everything that we did was grounded in our original mission that Dr. Massey helped develop. It was 10, 12 years ago. To ensure that all students graduate with the skills necessary to attend a college, university, technical college, or training program and succeed. Everything that we're doing through our advisory and everything is really getting kids to figure out what they're excited about so we can get them in the correct classes on a career path so they can go be successful in life. 4-year, 2-year, military, some kind of a trade school, one of the unions, something. The pendulum has swung so far back. It was not less than 10 years ago that we were saying every single kid has to go 4-year. That is not true, but every single kid does need some kind of a training past high school. We really decided through our building leadership team, we came up with 4 action committees. We came up with a transition committee. That transition committee had the charge of figuring out what activities do we need to do to bring in the 9th and 10th graders. They decided to continue with our LINK program. With the board's approval, next year our 11th and 12th graders will not be coming to school They will not be coming to school the first day of school next year. We will be welcoming our 9th and our 10th graders in and providing a LINK experience for them on that day. That will give us all of our staff that can work with those students. They can go through a mock schedule. And I say our 11th and 12th graders aren't coming to school that day. Well, I just got the numbers the other day, and about a quarter of them are LINK leaders, because we need that many kids to come in and support the new students that are coming in. We also decided, and this was through gathering data from parents and students through some surveys, that it was really critical to get those next year's 9th and 10th graders to come into the building for a site visit. So on May 10th and May 18th, I think it's 9th graders are coming on May 10th, next year's 9th graders. And they will be going through an auditorium. They'll have a presentation by me and some of the staff. We have a really cool tour planned for them with talking points all the way around. The West Wing, as we call it, that's the newest area that's about to open, will be open enough that they can actually go in and have a tour. It is absolutely gorgeous if you've not had a chance to get over there. Then they will come back. They'll end in the auditorium with a question and answer group with some of our student leaders, so they can ask the questions that they really need to. And then we're going to have some drawings and things for the kids. They're going to get some free passes into all of the sports. They're going to have some t-shirts. We're going to have those types of things. We want it to be serious, but we also want it to be fun for the kids. The other thing that we got through our data collection with the transition group was our staff handbook was incredibly, terribly out of date. It had information in it that the staff really did not need. They wanted a one-page, one document, one website place where they can get a lot of those questions answered. What's the policy on buying food? What's the policy on if I want to go on a field trip? Those types of things. They did a lot of work on refining that, and that actually just was published here in the last couple of days. And in doing that, they're continuing to gather survey data as we roll things out. If there's anything we've learned through the strategic plan, we have to be transparent, and we have to go out and ask for input as we implement these new things. Another committee was school culture. We will be the last, I think we're the last, school in Forest Lake to be trained in positive behavior and intervention systems, supports, sorry. And that's really neat because we will officially be a PBIS school district, and a lot of that does go to Mr. Slater, who came in and really energized us around that topic. A lot of high schools, this is difficult for them to pull off. When you think PBIS, a lot of people think it's about the paw tickets that we were asking the Columbus kids about. It's about the roar tickets. It's really not about that at the high school level, and it's when you get down to the bones of it, that's not what it's about at the elementary as well. It's about creating clear expectations for kids so they know what to expect when they walk into the school. Our staff is super excited to get into that work. That's really going to drive what we're doing not only with our students but also our staff, because the staff have to live by those same expectations. Another thing we got through gathering data through our school culture is that our staff does not know each other. We're a very large school. We have over 100 employees, 100 teachers. When you add in the para support and all that, we're close to 150 staff members or more that are in that school. And they really don't know each other. We have an industrial tech department that may not even see the math department at all if they don't choose to go do that. So we're creating opportunities for the staff to reconnect and get to know each other. Mrs. Van Este has opened up her house on May 11th, and we're having the first annual end of the year picnic where we've invited not just staff but families to come and play together and have a barbecue at the Van Este house. Our other time, a big committee has been Ranger Time. Thanks to the board and their action last year, we were able to create this. As you guys know, we went through an adjustment partway through the year. It was really important with the Ranger Time and Advisory Committee to be working close together with their leadership, because advisory, they were butting heads on some things. And when I get done talking, you'll understand why. Ranger Time, the teachers really wanted to make sure that it was daily, that they had an opportunity every single day for kids to get what they need on their schedule. They also wanted to stay true to its original intent, that kids will have access to all teachers. By the way that we're doing it now with the schedule that we're going to have next year, they do have access to all teachers because we don't have teachers eating lunch while kids are looking for them. The other thing was to utilize advisory time to introduce expectations, and I'll explain more about that in a little bit. In advisory sort of wanted to take over Ranger Time. If you can imagine, there's a lot of things that we need to, information that we have to get out so kids are choosing the correct pathway for their career, they're getting into the right courses, they're getting the supports that they need. So they really worked on creating their own mission. And their mission is to create opportunities to have a consistent relationship with a trusted adult in the building with whom you can plan for the future and be held accountable by. Through collecting data from not only students and staff, it was made apparent our advisories were not so much about the lessons they were teaching, it was about getting kids in with teachers so they could have that relationship over an extended period. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So if you have a 10th grade advisory right now, keep those same kids next year. Okay, you might put them into groups differently with the new classes coming in, but you're with that same teacher then for 4 years. It's always been the goal of ours since I had started back at the high school, but they really want to try to make sure that that stays through. The other thing that we heard loud and clear is don't do a lesson every single Wednesday. Every Wednesday we're telling you what to do. There's a PowerPoint, you have to go through it, there's no time to build those relationships. So what they've decided to do is have the lessons delivered in the first week of each quarter. And then what they're going to do the first quarter of the year, we're going to take the first 2 weeks, all students will go to advisory for every single day. A lot of the lessons, those key lessons that they have to do throughout the year will be delivered in those first 10 weeks. The other part, if you go back up to the Ranger Time, they will be showing the kids and teaching the kids what those expectations are for that Ranger Time. So when they are released after those 10 days, they know what to expect, they know what to do in the certain areas, they know what's accepted and what's not expected. And then what they'll be doing is on Wednesdays then, we'll still be having advisory, but it's more going to be a guided study hall where you go report to your advisory teacher, but it's a check and connect. Check and connect it comes out of PBIS, and it's a way to support struggling learners. Teachers will be pulling data. If you have missing assignments, if your grades drop below C's, those types of things, they will be creating a plan with their advisory students so they can communicate with parents, so they can check in on a face-to-face basis with their students. It just gives another layer of support to make sure that all of our kids are successful. And then we will also, through advisory, we have these beautiful learning stairs, if you haven't been over there. And if you can imagine, you're gonna see announcements that say, on Monday, on the learning stairs is going to be the building trades. And the building trades will be giving a presentation on what careers are available to students. And students can go to the learning stairs during that ranger time to learn about that career. We may have the military there, we may have other different occupations. It's open to all kinds of things. They also decided to do 2 career days next year. We did that this year. The first one was on a very small scale. Second one was mammoth. They're going to have 2 next year. They're going to be much on a smaller scale, with kids having the opportunity to go to 2 different career presentations within one day, one in the spring and one in the fall. I think that was it. So our 4 groups, they met as large groups during staff development time, and I do want to thank Diane and the rest of the district for allowing us to do that. We actually took some time away from some other initiatives that we had planned so those teachers could have a say in what was going on, so that was greatly appreciated. Then they met in smaller action teams utilizing our Q-Comp dollars to put in the final plans. So a lot of work yet to do, but we are well on our way, and thank you for your support.
Okay, questions?
I just want to say thank you for bringing so much passion to this. I would have, as a parent, I would have no hesitation to have a 7th or 8th or 9th grader transition. I think we're doing everything humanly possible and above that to make the transition go smoothly, and I see success down the road.
I agree. I just want to add that I had goosebumps during your talk. That is so exciting. All those things you're talking about doing, the blue, the tan, I've got notes like crazy. So that is so exciting, JP. Thank you for all that work and to your staff and to Jim. Jill said it well. It's gonna. We've done everything humanly possible, and kudos to you and your staff.
Well, I would just say there's a lot of credit to go around on this, but by and large, it needs to be placed on the teachers involved in the process. They put kids at the forefront of every conversation. They met and they came to consensus and on a number of items that were hard to come to consensus on. They let go of past practices in the hopes of creating something new and even better. Jim and I, we were just part of the process. The teachers really deserve a lot of credit for what we created here and what's continually unfolding, like Jim said.
So true.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a question too about the homeroom change. It sounds like that's going to be a great addition. Is that going to alleviate some work the deans have had to do as far as pulling them in?
It's not going to alleviate the work from the deans, it's going to enhance the work from the deans. So that it will actually give the deans some support so they can work with their homeroom teachers.
Because that right now, I'm sure that's just hasn't been.
A lot of it's on the dean.
On the deans.
And the families, and this way it gives another layer of support.
That's going to really help, especially the ones that are like falling behind or struggling. So that's a great. Thank you for doing that.
And it's just such a continuation from our elementary to our middle school to our senior high. And that doesn't happen by accident. You give the teachers credit, and certainly they should. Principals have to give a lot of credit to them. And leadership like yourself, I'm not a bit worried. I think we're in pretty good shape with who we have in place. The kids are just very fortunate to be a part of it and to have the positive intervention or interaction with them. It's just no matter what age. It's you could do it for a couple of parents or school board members or anybody. You know, we should all work on how we can do better with ourselves. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And I would ask you to pass along to the teachers that have been just a critical part of this, how much as a board we appreciate, that the positive attitude they've had, and just it's just been phenomenal. And so please pass that along, and everybody at the schools who's working hard to make this work. It's really exciting, I think. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, positive happenings, Member Olson.
Yes, I went to the Lime Lakes Carnival, which is always a great time. Through 916, I visited their newest building, the Pancalo building, and that's a great facility. I did the 6th grade choir concert and the 6th grade orchestra concert, and those are both always impressive. Good number of kids participating in those programs.
Thank you. Member Corcoran?
Well, I didn't write it down, but I went to the play, then there were none, right? So I'm trying to remember the whole name right off the top of my head here. What a great play. I mean, it was just very well done, and it was only one weekend. So, and then with the storm, right? It just was like really, trying to cram it in, and then power outage and everything else. So they did a great job. That was a great play to go to. And then I'm just gonna put a shout out for the Pops concert next Friday night, the 18th, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, the 18th. I'm sure Dr. Massey will be talking about that. But that's a great event, and I look forward to it every year. And Dill's in it, and he's just telling me all the great songs, like more, real great songs they're going to be playing. So it's just a great night.
Oh, thank you. Member Moorhead?
Also went to the play, and there's just a little funny happening. It was a great play. It was very well done.
Great.
But when it's over, the last line of theirs, and then we got married, and then there were none. And it was quiet for a minute, and the little guy, I don't know how old he was pretty little. Well, that doesn't even make any sense. The whole auditorium just burst into laughing because out of the mouths of babes. But they did a great job, and of course the Bethel concert was amazing again. I did participate with the clothes drive at Southwest, where they were raising funds by cooperating with giving clothes to others that need them. Curriculum review, we had our last kind of meeting, and next year I think we're going to be a part of the groups that meet for all of us. Festival of Cultures, again, amazing night, lots and lots of people came, and we're going to work on that whole food thing for next year, because bringing in the food from the different cultures is just a really good addition to that. And so I know Carolyn will be asking me to bring it up more than once, that we can do that. And then I attended the Flea End of the Year celebration again to thank our teachers. You can't do that enough for all the work that they do and the cooperation that we've been able to get from them during some very hard times. It doesn't happen in a lot of districts, as we all know. So we appreciate our teachers and the way they work to make everything better for our students.
Great. Member Peters?
Well, there's quite a bit, and I'm struggling to remember right now, but I know I should have wrote it all down. And I can't remember if the Linwood Carnival was before the last meeting or not, but I attended that. We've had a couple of lacrosse games in there, and I've been getting updates tonight because there's one going on, and it's not going well for our boys. We had a couple of the NFL flag football events that my son is also participating in, which is super fun. Those kids have just a great time in the flag football. We had a very interesting prom experience, with a little bit of snow and what have you. So, yeah, it's been a lot going on and a lot of fun.
That's right. I forgot about that. How could I?
Member Tyson?
I went to the play as well. I didn't vote correctly at all. I voted for the doctor, so it was excellent casting. I went to the Lino PTO meeting, which was an excellent meeting. They are very fired up. They organized a district-wide meeting inviting all booster clubs and all PTO and PTA leads. It's going to be on May 16th at the High School Media Center. They've invited our superintendent, Dr. Massey, to talk about the upcoming levy and some information about our district. So it's exciting news that they're kind of organizing like that. I went to CME's parent meeting as well as their public hearing. Went with Member Olson to the 6th grade orchestra. That's always so fun. I attended the final wellness meeting, which I think you all got the name, that it's going to be called Ranger Wellness, and now they're voting on the tagline. I've always liked to go to see what's happening with the SHIP funds and the grants. So they do, it's twofold. They do wellness for students as well as staff. So Karen, they did a soup weekend at the bus garage, Soup Week. So they cut out all
the vegetables,
and then they tried different drinks, not just coffee. They were doing teas, and so I was just fascinated with the great ideas for wellness that were brought up.
Cookies?
I don't know about the sugar, but yeah, they did a pumpkin squash soup day. I thought it sounded delicious. I went to see Schools for Equity and Education down at the Capitol. We met with legislators that were very interested in hearing our story. Member Moorhead was along. We got to really advocate for Forest Lake area schools, so that was a good day. Very snowy, And the new building, the parking is way up on the icy hill. And so Karen and I were slip sliding away that day. So, but very good day, good outcomes. There's something else I wanted to mention for positive happenings. The Indian Ed has a program May 8th at 6 p.m. at the Central Learning Center. They'll have a public meeting for the first 30 minutes and then a family fun night. And Bethany mentioned Big Rig Day, and I think that sounds really fun, and I'm glad to see that we're collaborating with the Hardwood Creek Library on that. And then next week we have our retiree recognition. That's always bittersweet. So that concludes my.
All right, thank you. Yeah, that hill doesn't seem too bad till you're coming back to your car, eh? You're just huffing and puffing by the time you get up there. For me, I obviously went to Bethel, which was fantastic, and it's really nice because now my kids come with me, and they have all these stories they're telling me of when they were at it, and so yeah, it's a fun family thing. And went to the Festival of Nations, and again, a great time. My wife and I went to that, and I'm on the TIES executive board. Kind of a positive happening is that it feels like we're on a really positive course forward. Superintendent gave an update in his report, but I think it's, I won't go into too much detail here, but we're partnering with a group called Sourcewell that I think is going to help us maintain a lot of the services we get. We've got more positive outcome, we think, for the building, and so it's all been falling into place. It's been a stressful couple of years on that board, but or year and a half, but I think that's positive. I think it's interesting just to see that there's just these boards all over that do all these work of trying to get things to work out for the best, and it's kind of a treat to be a part of it, to see how, we as a community figure out our way forward. So, all right, reports. Do we have anything for workshop or conference?
Yeah, actually, go ahead, never mind.
We're not going to have any positive happenings from our superintendent today?
But I'm done at the end.
Okay, just don't want to forget anything.
So actually, I've forgotten this because this is a new item under reports. So I attended officer training in Maple Grove with MSBA. I think it was in February. So I've forgotten to report on that. But I have met with Rob and I talked to the superintendent. There was a whole packet and some great information learned on how to create efficiencies in our meetings. Maybe consider doing a few things differently. So Rob and I are going to meet some more on that.
Mm-hmm. All right, communications, Member Olson.
We had a legislative update from Ross, good and bad going on there. We had a Forest Lake Area Schools Roundtable event update. We reviewed the 18-19 school calendar, and we talked about the spring, summer, gorgeous community at Catalog.
All right, and 9/16?
Yes. We had a parent present on the need for dyslexia screening, intervention, and teacher training. And Dan will discuss with member districts on June 1. That was very interesting. We reviewed the budget and contract negotiations.
All right, thank you. Equity Alliance, Member Moorhead.
We're still very busy looking for an executive director. We did hire a search firm, or we're going to at our next meeting. And that position might go from a .8 to a full-time, and a very important position. Jean has really created that from the early stages to what it is today, and it's amazing. We also are looking for a professional manager, program manager. Mary Bussman has been with us, and she's now accepted a job at Brim Hall Elementary as a principal. So we have two important positions to fill there, and I've been working with the personnel committee to make that happen. So I hope I sent all of you the spring update. I think I did. And that gives a presentation of all the programs that we're involved in. So far so good. We just got to hire some really good people.
All right. Policy Committee, Member Tyson.
Yes, we went over, it'll come up under new business 10.1, but the district wellness policy, we reviewed that. And that concludes my report.
All right. I'm going to be taking the Staff Welfare and Finance Committee reports. For staff welfare, we had an enrollment update. We had our legislative update where we talked about our efforts to work with our legislators on our busing disparity and the ability to levy through board action. And we had a construction update and talked about the middle school and high school transition. And for the finance committee, we talked about the FY18 budget. We had an FY19 budget update, and again, we had a legislative update. And then, City of Forest Lake, Member Moorhead and Tyson, any reports?
Well, I think we're just all very sad that we didn't have the opportunity to keep the medical facility for mentally hurting children from 7 years old to 17. I still can see no reason for that vote to be taken. If you watch the Planning Commission, there was a great statement given by Eric Langness about the hard work that they had put into that. Twice it came back unanimous decision. So I think we just have to be vigilant and ask our leaders what it is that they're thinking when the whole community, the neighbors, the facility is so needed, how something like that could be changed from a few words in a zoning change. So, I mean, it's a sad report for me to give because I wasn't alone. There were many, many people there that were very disappointed at that decision, and I think we're now losing it to the county. I believe I still hear it's going to East Bethel. That's the good news, is the kids will still get the help that they need, because that facility is so needed. And today we talk about mental illness and the help that we can give, and here's a facility that landed in our backyard that we could have been a part of. So, other than that, there's a new Blaine Backus, a person that was seated. I don't know, our liaison isn't here today if he'd have anything else, but it's just a sad week for me to report on the city. Sorry.
I have one thing to add on the city. The city is looking for volunteers. The Forest Lake Area Mission for Families is looking for volunteers for a project. They're renovating a space to provide housing and resources to families in northern Washington County. So if anybody did want to volunteer, they could go to the city website and find that link.
Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
great.
And I'm sorry, one more thing is they have now decided, as you'll see in the paper, so if we get it, they've decided to go with a search firm to look for the new city administrator. And I think that's a positive. If I want to bring anything out, that'll be a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Buildings and grounds, Member Peterson.
So before I give my buildings and grounds report, I have to acknowledge the positive happening of the Wyoming PTA fundraising gala, where I will be in a lot of trouble when I get home. So it was an amazing event that raised a lot of money. Thousands of dollars were raised that night, and the parents had a great time. So
how was the weather?
The weather was horrible. It was horrible, but we still held it. We still had over 100 people in the room, and it was a great time. So
that's amazing.
All right.
Yeah. So I apologize for forgetting that, but I figured I better report.
Yeah, you did.
Buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds. So we got a project update that I won't get into too deeply because I believe Mr. Martini will be giving us an update. We also got an update on the bond portfolio, which was great positive news there as well. Bill reported on having to replace all of the wrestling mats because fire code didn't allow for the old ones, so we had to tear them out because the material no longer was acceptable. Lead testing is being completed in parts of the district, and as shocking as it is now, when you look outside, snow was delaying a lot of our work to get done. So that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, Reshaping Opportunities for Success 2015-2020. Director Martini.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and make sure that this will pop up without flipping them. And one of the things that I should flip. One of the things that I'll try to do is reflip them.
Wow, at least they
Have you seen that before?
No, they haven't.
Stand on my head to read it, Larry.
Solve that. So let me just share with you some highlights. Like you mentioned, Member Peterson, it was really an exciting snow melt for all of the contractors. We'll put this up on the website so that you folks can see it. If you recall, normally I share with you a first slide and I give kudos out to folks like the architects, DLR Architects and KOMA, and also the engineers, Martin Pevsner. Dr. Massey is a design consultant, Mike Kopitz. He is now running around crazily with all of the different work that we've got going on. The Linwood meeting did fire up. He's been involved in the Scandia meetings. He's been involved in the Lino Lakes meetings. Not only the high school and the middle school, but now the Southwest building meetings for construction have fired up. So he's exceedingly busy. We also tend to give a shout out, like we did on that first slide that you typically see, to Springstead, mentioning the bond portfolio and what good work we've been able to achieve through their efforts. Dr. Massey and I recently visited with Stacy Childers from Springstead to look at maximizing our project dollars. Many of you folks have heard about how we could use long-term facilities maintenance bonding, use the abatement bonding, and increase the scope of some of our projects. For example, taking an alternate at Scandia, taking an alternate up at Linwood, expanding the size of the Wyoming project. So we'll have activities for you related to that bonding as June and July progress. The exciting news, though, on a separate note from this project, is as we looked out to that bond schedule, we can pre-announce already taxes are going down again. Any of the impact that we're going to do with maximizing our dollars, we're still seeing a substantial decrease in the principal and interest payments relative to those bonds that were issued. We had 3 high years, and we continue to go down. Last year, we're going to go down again substantially in the upcoming year. So that's pretty neat. When I post this out on the website and we pick it up, you'll see renderings of the activities that we're going to undertake at the high school this summer. I like what Jim mentioned, the West Wing. Well, now we're going to be working at the library and some of those other fax areas and things like that. So that'll be quite exciting. We didn't focus any pictures since we were heavily focused last time on the middle school. But we did put together some renderings for Lino Lakes. They're excited to get going now that school's getting out before the 24th. So we're going to focus hard at that school, hard at Scandia, and we won't begin work at Southwest until actually in June, because that's going to be another one of those 18-month projects. So with upside down pictures, and that would create headaches and dizziness, I'm going to conclude my report here and just ask, do you have any questions?
Just amazing amount of work. I went by Lino, I'm sorry, Sharon.
Go ahead.
I went by Lino during the evening hours the other night, and I just can't believe all that's happening there. It's going to be such a win for our district. That it's not all about the building, but it certainly does help to have kids walk into a building that looks good and feels good, and teachers can feel good teaching there. Because we expect so much of them, and have them go into that old building. I'm just excited to see them finish.
Yep, and that level of volume is going to be occurring not only at Linwood, but also Scandia, so it's exciting.
Larry, I have one question. Is
Absolutely.
the West Wing complete?
Well, Jim mentioned that they're going to be showing tours, so you're just in punch list there.
It's actually completed. They're starting the punch list today.
Wow.
Okay.
We could theoretically be moving in a week and a half.
So we can come visit. We can come see it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Thank you. I'll just mention in reference to all the construction projects, we've talked a lot about an open house at the high school, the middle school, all the other buildings. We're actually looking at a date in maybe late September, giving our construction crews time to finish all those final punch list items and do a grand opening that will have all of our buildings open on perhaps a Saturday, and allow the community to work its way around and see all of our buildings, and get in our buildings and see all the amazing work that is going on. Before I get into my brief report, I'm going to take just a quick moment and circle back to our community ed presentation, the work that Director Corey McKinnon and his staff, Bethany in early childhood, and Tracy Angelo is an enormous force with the community ed program as well. It's important to note that the better we do with early childhood education gives all of those kids a leg up on learning. It's a critical program for us. So your leadership and all of community ed is greatly appreciated. Also, I know Neil Fox had to step out. It goes without saying the leadership that he provides at Columbus Elementary is evident in the 5 students that he brought here today. If you've had a chance to see him when the building's full of kids, you see that he's a magnet for kids. He knows every student by name as well as most of their parents as well. He's quite a leader. And again, I mentioned it earlier, the work that JP and Jim are doing is really noble work, creating a new foundation and platform for our secondary programs. It's putting us on the map, and will be destination programs for kids coming out of our 6th grade into our middle school and into our high school.
Could we mention that the previous principal set the stage too, and that we're continuing with Jim's excellent work, we're continuing that because that was always major for you to have that.
Thank you, that's off the drain. On to my report. Wyoming Elementary Principal Kurt Slater is with us tonight. He's been named, as you know, the National Distinguished Principal of the Year through the Minnesota Elementary School Principals Association. A component of the press release that was just released today states that the National Distinguished Principal Program was established in 1984 to recognize and celebrate elementary and middle level principals who set high standards for instruction, student achievement, character, and climate for students, families, and staff in their learning communities. The program highlights the fundamental importance of the school principal in achieving educational excellence for pre-kindergarten through 8th grade students, and reinforces their continued leadership in helping students develop a lifelong love of learning. One of the National Distinguished Principals Association, a person is chosen annually from each of the 50 states and the District of Columbia. As Kurt is so quick to say, this type of recognition is less about the principal and more about the great work the educators at Wyoming are doing with kids on a daily basis. While this is true, it is also true that Kurt is a bit humble in this assessment. Great things cannot happen in a school without a great principal leading and inspiring the team. Kurt will represent Minnesota at their national conference and will be a great spokesperson for the great things happening at Wyoming and the school district. I'm going to ask Kurt to come up and just say a couple of things. We've got a couple of guests here too.
Yeah, I do. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. 3 years ago, I had the privilege to interview at this district, and Dr. Matson and the team gave me the opportunity to become a leader at Wyoming Elementary, and I can't thank the board and Dr. Massey enough for the opportunity the last 3 years. I mean, it's truly, I've said this before, that I'm probably a workaholic, but I love my job, and my family's behind me, and I just want you to know that my mom came, and you know, it's a family deal, but I also want to know that this award is a family deal. You heard JP and Jim speak and Neil Fox speak, and we have amazing leaders. And so when you talk about, you know, being picked one between, I think there's 2,000 principals in the state of Minnesota, it's not about me. And I said it to my staff, and I want you to know that community ed, it all ties in. They're graduating today, you know, and what they wanted is me to get on a knee and take a picture with their kid. And I just don't think we realize the ripple effect that we have as educators. So one of the things that I took upon myself as I found out on Friday night on my way home after the interview that I won the award, and the first person I called was my wife, and then I called my dad, and I called my mom, and throughout the weekend I've made 32 phone calls, and it's all been to people that have made an impact in my life. Wow. And it's former students, it's former teachers, former administrators that took a chance on me becoming a dean in an Oak-Hennepin school, and I truly, you know, want people to know that titles are not about me. I played athletics my whole life. I was never individual. I was individual wrestler, and I was so big that no one could pin me, so I won state every year. My brother got mad at me, and I figured out that wrestling, I really didn't like it that much, and kind of went to basketball and the team sport. And I know that we're going through rough times in Forest Lake, but when you see all the great things that we have in the trenches and how hard we work, that I'm truly blessed to say that I'm a Ranger, and I will do my best to represent the school district in Wyoming Elementary, and make sure that this is about the kids. This is what we do, and the impact. The best part I loved about Mr. Fox's presentation when he first said, what are you going to remember about Columbus? I hate to tell you, it wasn't test scores. It wasn't like, this geometry lesson that Ms. Johnson taught us. It was all of those personal things, and it's sometimes those track and field events that we have no idea, or it's the carnival at the end of the year. And so it goes to a quote that I talk a lot about, and the quote talks about that I may not remember everything you taught me, but I'll never forget the way you made me feel. And I want you guys to know that Forest Lake has a big spot in my heart, for my teachers and my staff, my community. Jeff is really lucky that he grabbed that gala, because I was going to tell Lisa, boy, I thought he got some good prizes there too. What's the deal? But to see that the police department, the fire department, and people giving away things for our school to raise, I think we raised over $12,000 the night of a snowstorm, and people showing up in snowmobiles. You don't get that everywhere. You just don't. And so I don't know what this brings. I truly don't. It's in a sense of I know that I'll have a voice in some areas, and again, I'll use you as a sounding board around that, but I do want people to know that Forest Lake is a great place to go to school, and we need to round our community up and get them to support our schools so we do not have to close any more schools. And we have the ability to do it. And I believe in Dr. Massey's leadership and in the grassroots program that we're going to go after and just really get people to see, but I think we also have to invite them to the game. So I think we have to invite more senior citizens into our school, and we have a reading buddy program right now. I took them out for lunch last week, and spending an hour of time with them, with 12 retired women that go to Wyoming Methodist Church, and just the impact those kids have on them. They all want to buy them books this summer. They want to make them quilts so that they have something. And that's what we need. We need our senior citizens back into the picture of things instead of this disconnected society that we have. So there's a lot of negative noise in our world, but I want you guys to know that there's a lot of positive things going on, and I am blessed to be in front of you, and I'm very humble to know that this is not about me, but it's about the school, that I have the ability to be part of that team members, and I'm very thankful to my parents and all their support. So I want to say thank you to my daughter and my wife and my amazing mom.
They can take pictures from
take pictures. And you have to know my mom, we could not have a celebration without eating something. And so I left we had a kindergarten roundup, so we had popsicles. So I brought ice cream bars for all of us to have a little dessert. And so we have a bag of ice cream bars that were left over from the piece, and just a little bit of celebration for all your guys' hard work. Thank you for the time that you give up to come here and to support us. And we're blessed as administrators, and the teachers and the community is blessed to have leadership that does care. And that's the part I want. We wouldn't do this if we didn't care. We're not trying to be. I'm not making changes at Wyoming to make people painful. I'm making changes at Wyoming to make it a better place for kids to learn. So thank you for all your support. And I don't know if I can answer any of your questions, but I will sure try if there are any, because I don't know what this brings. Dr. Massey might have a better idea than I do. So.
Well, it brings an awful lot of admiration from our district, and a proof positive of what we're trying to accomplish here. And so you can be humble about it, but you certainly represent an awful lot of what's good about our district.
I agree. And I was going to say, every time I see you, I think about the pirate ship build boat.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing him in the pirate gear and all those kids just were so excited. It was just such a great memory.
My wife thinks I'm crazy sometimes.
It was so great. That's every time I see you, I think about what you brought such joy to those children. That was just amazing. Great day.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I just want to add, Kurt, that we just couldn't be more proud. I mean, you have worked so hard and given 110%. And when Mr. Caldwell said tonight that we're going to be all PBIS buildings, that is just excellent. And kudos to you for starting that fire keeping that flame going. And I love being on Twitter with you. It is just so fun.
I think I get on Twitter.
Yeah, Gail's all over Twitter, I'm telling you. It was good.
Yeah, so thank you.
So for my part, I actually have a student there. My son goes to Wyoming Elementary, as most of you know, and the culture is phenomenal, and you're a big part of that. Bodie really looks up to you. It's impressive the impact you have on some students, and we really appreciate it. I mean, it means a lot. You have a bigger impact than you think.
Well, thank you so much, and I will drop off some ice cream bars. I might have enough for the crowd too. I don't know. We'll see. They deserve. How many are we? There's 12. Will I stand up there?
Without the bag.
Without the bag.
Yeah. Way to go, Trace.
I think Mom's still here. Be careful.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, we're so happy for you.
Yeah. Congratulations.
All right, do we have any items, or we got, oh, I'm sorry.
All right, so I've got a few more quick updates.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Yeah, great job. This one's a little mushy.
Wow. Good job. So proud.
All right, a few quick more items here from my report. Many of you mentioned the spring play, or excuse me, I'll get to that in a minute. The spring season, rather, is underway with our teams finally being able to play on our fields after all the snow that we spoke about earlier. A debt of gratitude is in order for Aaron Forsyth and Jody Berg for the rescheduling they have done with all the canceled events through the month of April. And a big thank you to Bill Schwartz and the grounds crew for getting our fields ready for use. This was mentioned by many of you in your reports earlier. I'd like to congratulate the spring play director, Craig Zemansky, and his staff for their phenomenal work putting on the play, and then there were none. The student performers did a marvelous job in their various roles. The play was well attended and speaks to the great value the theater program has in our community. Once again, the performers and the audience members benefited from the sound upgrades to the auditorium through the generous donation of the Hannaford Family Foundation. Through their significant grant, we will be upgrading the auditorium lighting, seating, and stage flooring this summer. The school year ends in just under 3 weeks, giving way for a 2-week head start for the very busy summer construction schedule at many of our schools. Staff in affected buildings are not only working to finish the school year on a strong note, they're beginning to pack their rooms and prep for the projects. Along with the end of the school year, we are fast approaching the graduation season. The Senior Academic Awards ceremony is scheduled for Monday, May 21st. We will also be inducting new members to the District and Athletic Halls of Fame the same evening. I must say that the integration of the Hall of Fame induction and the senior awards and scholarships is a powerful symbol of the amazing accomplishments of our seniors and the accomplishments of those who have graduated many years ago. The Hall of Fame inductees serve as excellent role models for our students, and our students demonstrate all that is good about the young people in our community. Also mentioned earlier, the retirement recognition next week, May 8th, at 4 p.m. in the High School Media Center. The Pops concert scheduled for next Friday night, May 18th. And in addition to the Hall of Fame induction on Monday, May 21st, the Hall of Fame reception is held at Forest Hills following night, Tuesday, May 22nd, 6 p.m. Graduation is held Thursday, May 24th at 7 p.m., hopefully outside, weather dependent. And many of you have made the senior picnic and served and joined our seniors on Wednesday, their last day. Jim, what time do they serve? 11:30. So if any of you want to come and mingle with our seniors, and that's Wednesday, the 23rd at 11. Show up at 11 if you want to serve, and we'll get gloves on your hands and you can help serve the seniors. Great event. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have any items we pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to pull 7.3, please.
All right.
And
Do
I'd
you-
like to pull 7.4.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve 7.1, 7.2, and 7.5?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 7.3, advertising.
Yes, so I was at a retirement party preceding this meeting with Bethany was there, and it was for Renee Hansen. And Renee has been there for 33 years. And she has always been in the front, and she was there when I worked in that building too. She's always just been the face of that program, greeting parents, signing them up. And it was just great to have a party for her today. And also Kathy Stuber has been there 25 years, Teacher Robin, 33, Teacher Marianne, 31. So we are just blessed with that awesome staff over there and all that longevity in growing those programs. So happy retirement to Renee.
All right. And Member Corcoran, 7.4?
Yeah, I just saw today that Justin Sawyer is resigning at the end of June, so I just wanted to wish him well and his future, and he'll be missed at the high school.
Yeah, he's taken a principalship at St. Anthony, New Brighton High School, 3 blocks from home.
Well, I figured it was a move for a reason like that. I just didn't know for sure, but he was a great dean for my son and just a great guy. So
Fantastic
he'll be
leader,
missed.
greatly missed.
I know.
Now,
It's
is that
sad.
where Jane Bona went? Did Jane Bona go to St. Anthony? Or maybe it was private school? No.
She's at a private school.
Yeah.
Well, back to Member Corcoran, I just want to add too that Justin Sawyer he came on, my daughter it was like her final year, and he was an amazing leader, and the kids he was a kid magnet. He just had this calm presence, and I wish him well. We'll have to talk to our colleague Laura and say,
I'll have to keep tabs on him.
yeah, super, thank you for doing that.
All right, with that, do we have a motion to approve 7.3 and 7.4?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. All opposed? Great, thank you. Donations.
Okay, I'm gonna rate them because Member Odegaard is gone this evening, so I'll do my best. Generous donations, $75 from Hugo American Legion, Post 620 to Forest Lake FFA for Student Organization Account. Chromebooks from Forest Lake, Forest U PTA to Forest Lake Elementary to increase students' access to technology, valued at $3,468. 2 used augmentative communication devices from Lynn Zeleny from Pine City to Forest Lake Area Schools Early Childhood Special Education to support language development, valued at $100. $500 from Tefla to Forest Lake Area Schools for 2018 Hall of Fame sponsorship. And these are all going to be from the Forest Lake and Forest View PTA. $102 to Forest View Elementary for student headphones. $665.01 to Forest View Elementary for the music department. $1,400 for Forest View Elementary for Chromebooks. And the next one is $2,442.98 to the from the Forest Lake football boosters to the high school for huddle, video, and editing. $100 to Lionel Lakes PTO from Lionel Lakes PTO to Forest Lake Area Schools for Festival of Cultures. $5,000 from Spring Lake Park Lions Club to Forest Lake Area Schools Family Support for School Supplies, and a drum pad from Kathy Wright from Wyoming to Wyoming Elementary, valued at $25. The total of these donations is $13,877.99. And I move to accept the donations.
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
Thank you as usual, and
Yeah.
let's let people know the generous nature of the PTOs and the people that we have in this district.
Yep, absolutely.
$14,000.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Donations are accepted. Old business, 9.1, approve memorials for deceased students and staff, policy 511.
Yeah, the policy committee has spent some time working its way through this policy, and the only change in this policy is on page 1. It adds detail and language for how A deceased student's family may memorialize that student in a yearbook at the time of that student's passing or upon the year in which that student might graduate from high school, or would have graduated from high school.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the memorials for deceased students in staff policy 511?
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Moorhead?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye, and Member Corcoran?
Aye.
All right, thank you. 9.2, approve discipline policy 515.
This policy is reviewed annually by the policy committee, and actually a subcommittee of administrators digs into this policy as well. And they're recommending just two changes, one on page 8, one on page 9, changes the word camera to student recording devices, and updates Youth Service Bureau to Lake Center for Youth and Family.
Okay, we have a motion to approve discipline policy 515.
Move to approve 9.2.
Second?
Discussion? If there's no discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye, Member Corcoran?
Aye.
And Member Moorhead?
Aye.
All right, the motion's approved. 10, new business, 10.1, first reading wellness policy 546.
Again, the policy committee has spent time working on this policy. All school districts that participate in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs are required by the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010 to have a wellness policy that includes standards and nutrition guidelines for foods and beverages made available to students on campus during the school day, as well as specific goals for nutrition promotion and education, physical activity, and other school-based activities that promote student wellness. The policy committee has reviewed this policy and recommended a number of changes that you'll see outlined and detailed in the policy that you'll have time over the next month to review.
All right, thank you. All right, take a look at the upcoming calendar dates. It's
Chairman,
gonna-
maybe just give a shout out to our food department. They
Food
do
service staff, yeah.
Food service staff does an amazing job trying to keep up with all of the things that are put down upon them, and to create an atmosphere for the kids to really enjoy coming to their lunches. We just can't thank them enough.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine that they feed, 6,000 people in an hour in this district. Yeah.
Yeah, and under some pretty tough guidelines and regulations, they
There are.
provide a very appealing meal for kids.
Yep,
Do a great job.
absolutely. All right, like I say, we have a busy month ahead of us. It's exciting. It's the end of the year, so review the upcoming calendar dates. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks, everyone. Great meeting.